FM News Talk 97.1.
On-demand audio.
The topic that we have been discussing for the past 2 days is this raid that occurred on the Gibson guitar factories down in Tennessee. And it's a super pleasure for me to welcome onto the show right now the CEO of Gibson, Henry Juszkiewicz. Good afternoon, sir. Thanks for joining me.
Well, how are you?
How are you is the most important question, I think, right now. You've had a lot to deal with in the past couple of days. Can you give us an update as to where things are? I know that when the raid occurred, they had the Department of Fish and Wildlife crack down, and you had armed individuals come in, and they shut down one of the factories there. And I know you had said that your workers were sent home, but that you are going to defy government order and continue to work. What's the latest?
Well, we are continuing to work, and we're trying to get. Actually, there were 4 factories involved, and we're trying to get them all back up to production.
Wow. Well, this is the second time that Gibson factories have been raided. Yes, the first was what was the first in 2009 over? Because as I recall, no charges have ever been brought.
No charges have been brought. We actually have sued the government to recover the goods that they seized. They seized $500,000 worth of goods in 2009, which is very disruptive to our production process at that time. We are now in federal court in Nashville, suing to get our own property back, and we have a hearing Monday on the issue. Where we feel we have conclusively proved that material was perfectly legal by all legal standards.
Now, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, when they came in and they were citing Indian law, it wasn't how the wood was they weren't upset over how the wood was obtained. They were upset with how it was imported into the factories, and they were saying that because it was not finished by Indian workers, that it was going to be finished by American workers, that was the big problem that they had.
That's right. They're interpreting Indian law in a very peculiar fashion. There is one Indian statute that requires a certain amount of labor to be put into wood before it can be exported legally. And their contention is that fingerboard blanks don't have that sufficient of amount of Indian content. And therefore, but they have also made a bold statement that all fingerboards from India that are either rosewood or ebony are consequently illegal. Which makes no sense and is strictly speaking not true.
So they're essentially trying to force you to comply with their wrong interpretation of a law. That's essentially the gist of it, correct?
That's correct. They're interpreting Indian law different than the Indian. In order for those fingerboards to be exported from India, they have to be certified by Indian authorities, and there's a whole chain of paperwork that you have to have, and then you have to have that paperwork accepted by U.S. Customs, which it was, to enter the country,
right,
and subsequently go to us. So there's this chain of custody where legal requirements are checked and confirmed before we ever get the product. And they're disputing that entirely.
So, and you had even gone so far as to say, according to the Tennessean, you had said, look, we have not done anything wrong. All these materials that we'd had were certified by the Forest Stewardship Council. I made a joke that it sounded like some kind of elf committee in Lord of the Rings. The Forest Stewardship Council, and you had dotted all your I's and crossed all your T's, and you thought everything was said, and then boom, this happens.
Right. So the FSC is the top authority in forestry that endorses that product is done correctly,
right,
and sustainably, and so forth.
Right.
And so they're the top guys, and they've endorsed this and you're sort of not. You can't do much better than that in this industry.
Exactly. Well, and how many workers did you have to send home when they came in and shut your factories down?
Several hundred.
Oh, good heavens! And you had said that it cost about $1 million worth of business, the loss of productivity.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! Now they would. Am I correct in believing that if the government had their way, they would keep your factories closed at this point?
The letter they wrote specifically says they consider if we can produce or ship across state lines, anything having to do with Indian rosewood or ebony, it is considered a criminal offense. And obviously, a lot of our product has fingerboards and has consequently Indian fingerboards of either ebony or rosewood. And so, and by the way, that is a process that's used throughout the guitar business, not just by Gibson. And yet we're the only ones that are being persecuted.
So, and there are a couple of theories that are floating around as to why this is. Do you think that this is, and I don't know whether or not I buy in any of them, but do you think that that you're being targeted solely, no one else, and this is strictly based on this wood? Do you think that there are any other issues that could possibly be motivating for the government to be coming after and essentially bullying your business in this manner?
We've been trying to figure out why. It's clear to us that this is not ordinary course. It's clear to us it's not ordinary course for two reasons. One, we are being specifically targeted versus other people that are actually doing and using the same content. Two, they're stalking us. They're looking for us to do something wrong. The original raid was on a different wood from a different country and a different set of laws. They've been pouring over thousands of pages of papers, and they're just looking for something to sort of get us for.
Right. Right. Well, and some have said, well, it's because they have a non-union shop, or it's because of political donations, or so on and so forth. Do you think that there's any weight to any of those theories?
It may be. I don't. They haven't told us.
Right.
And without, I hate to speculate when it's just a guess.
Right.
I've heard those things. It's certainly possible, but I don't know of any. I can't really say,
Right. And you said you plan on fighting this. What is the next step for Gibson?
Well, we have to. We either have to continue to fight this and to prove and establish that what we are doing is legal, which is ironic that we have to prove what we're doing is legal, right? Or we shut down and go away as a company. I mean, those are the options. The DOJ's position is that we should just shut down and go away as a company.
That's awful. Well, I tell you, Henry, you have our full support. I'm a huge Gibson fan. We own a Gibson Les Paul. And all of our bumper music today has been Gibson guitarist exclusively. And there's a sound that you can't get from any other make that you can get from Gibson. So I can't say how much I appreciate what you do and standing up and being inspiring to other business owners by fighting this, because this is a great injustice and everybody needs to know about it. So thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. Thanks so much again, Henry Juszkiewicz, the CEO of Gibson Guitars.